Chicago is one of the easiest places to accidentally break gun law without realizing you did anything wrong. Not just because the gun laws are stricter, but because of something most people miss.
Chapter 1. Who really controls the law? Here's the part most people get wrong. Chicago does not control most handgun carry law. Illinois does. Under the Firearm Concealed Carry Act, an Illinois concealed carry license is valid through the state. The same act says the regulation, licensing, possession, registration, and transportation of handguns and handgun ammunition by licensees are exclusive powers of the state. This is why Chicago does not have its own separate carry permit system for ordinary handgun carry. The statewide rules still control the base system, but Chicago still matters in two ways. First, the city still has local ordinances in a few areas. Second, the city puts more prohibited places, more posted property, and more event-driven restrictions closer together than most of Illinois. That means the same statewide rule can be much easier to violate here than it would be downstate. And just to be clear, when we're talking about carrying in public, we're mainly talking about handguns. Illinois law treats rifles and shotguns differently, especially when it comes to carrying versus transporting them. So this video is not really Chicago made all its own handgun laws. It is Chicago makes the Illinois rules easier to screw up. And if you want the full Illinois picture, the full breakdown is linked at the top right. Chapter 2. Where Chicago gets dangerous. Now, the fastest way to understand Chicago is to stop thinking only about the state and start thinking about the map and buildings. Illinois law says a licensee cannot knowingly carry into a long list of prohibited places. That list includes schools and child care property, certain government-controlled buildings and parking areas, courthouses, local government buildings, jails, hospitals, buses, trains, and public transportation facilities, establishments where more than 50% of gross receipts come from alcohol, permitted public gathering and special events, public playgrounds, public parks and athletic areas, Cook County Forest Preserve property, colleges and universities, gaming facilities, stadiums and arenas, libraries, airports, amusement parks, zoos, museums, nuclear regulated sites, and areas where firearms are banned by federal law. A large portion of no-carry situations are not government bans. They are private property restrictions stacked on top of each other. A private owner can ban concealed carry on the property, but they must post the Illinois State Police sign clearly and conspicuously at the entrance. Private residences are the exception. What makes Chicago different is frequency. You can move from a school property to a posted business, then to transit property, then to a hospital garage, then to a permitted event block, all without going very far. I mean, public transit is not just a train car. Under Illinois law, it also includes buses, trains, and buildings. In Chicago, those places are everywhere. One part of that list matters more in Chicago than people expect: permitted public events. Illinois bars carry at public gathering or special event on property open to the public when that event requires a permit from the local government. In Chicago, that can mean a neighborhood street festival, a city event, or another permitted gathering on a block you use all the time. Luckily, there is a narrow carve-out if a licensee has to walk through the event to get to his residence, place of business, or vehicle. But if that is the lane you are relying on, you had better actually fit it if you're stopped by law enforcement. That is the first big Chicago lesson. A lot of people do not get burned because they misunderstood the Second Amendment. They got burned because they treated a familiar block like it was legally unchanged. What would you do if you were walking a block you know well and suddenly realized part of it had turned into a prohibited place? Chapter 3. Guns and cars, parking lots, and property lines. This is where Chicago starts feeling expensive. If you do not have a concealed carry license, Illinois still recognizes transport lanes for firearms that are broken down, not immediately accessible, or unloaded and enclosed in a case by a person with a valid FOID card. But that is a transport law, not a general public carry right, and around schools, federal law can add another layer. If you have a valid Illinois concealed carry license, the statewide rule is different. The license allows you to carry a loaded or unloaded concealed handgun on or about your person and to keep or carry it within a vehicle. Illinois gives licensees a parking lot storage lane in many prohibited parking areas. The statute lets a licensee bring the concealed firearm into the parking area in the vehicle and store the firearm or ammunition concealed in a case within a locked vehicle or locked container out of plain view. The same subsection also says the licensee may be in the immediate area surrounding the vehicle only for the limited purpose of storing or retrieving the firearm within the vehicle's trunk. The moment your door opens, the legal analysis changes. In a city like Chicago, the hard part is not always possession. The hard part is timing and location. Did you secure the gun before stepping out? Or did you wait too long? Are you still using the narrow vehicle storage lane the statute gives you? Or did you move past it? Are you simply driving along a public right-of-way? Or have you now entered a parking area or property controlled by a prohibited location? Passing by is different from entering. Illinois gives licensees one important break. Just traveling along a public right-of-way that touches prohibited property is not, by itself, the violation. That is why a lot of Chicago problems start with the normal sentence, "I was only stopping for a second." And if that turns into a police stop, it is not a blanket duty to instantly announce your gun. But if an officer stops you and asks, you have to disclose that you are carrying. Say where the gun is, and if need be, let the officer secure it during the stop. Some people don't like that. What are your thoughts? Chapter 4, the Chicago rules that really are local. Now we get to the part where Chicago still has real local teeth. Chicago still has city code sections on quote-unquote assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, but the local rules do not stop there. The city limits handgun purchases to one every 30 days, bans firearm sales or transfers at gun shows, and requires gun owners to notify police within 48 hours if a firearm is lost, stolen, destroyed, sold, transferred, inherited, or otherwise disposed of. Chicago also has a home storage rule when a minor under 18 is likely to get access. One local wrinkle people may not expect is this. Chicago's municipal code says it's unlawful to carry, possess, display for sale, sell, or otherwise transfer any laser sight accessory, subject to limited duty related exceptions for armed forces, militia, and peace officers acting within the scope of duty. Chicago can also impound the vehicle. If the car contains an illegally possessed gun, an assault weapon, a laser light accessory, or a silencer, the registered owner can get hit with a $2,000 penalty plus towing and storage fees. So comment below, should Chicago be able to impound your vehicle over a gun law violation or a laser sight accessory? And here's a fun fact. Research published through the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority found that after controlling for defendant and case characteristics, the odds of being sentenced to prison were 28% higher in Cook County than elsewhere in Illinois. Now that does not mean every case comes out the same way, and it does not mean every defendant is treated identically. It does mean there is historical support for the idea that the same kind of felony case can hit harder in Cook County than in other parts of the state. This is a city where the same mistake is easier to make and harder to recover from. So if you're carrying in a city like Chicago, discretion matters even more. If the rules already demand attention, the last thing you need is gear that makes carrying harder. Now here's Jane to let you know more about how to conceal carry in the Windy City.
Hey, if you made it this far, you probably care about doing things right. If you've tried carrying in gym shorts or sweats, it just never feels quite right. Waistband moves, holster shifts, it's fine, but it's not dialed. That is why we built Relaxed Fit Tactical. Our shorts lock onto an inner belt, so your holster clips to a hidden belt, not just fabric. Same setup, same draw, just more comfortable. So if you carry every day, this just makes sense. Links below.